And welcome back to Newsmax Now. Time for today's roundtable. Today we're happy to be joined by Dave Aronberg, State Attorney for Palm Beach County, and Javier Manjarres, Managing Editor of the Shark Tank. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you.
One day late, thank you. May the 4th be with you.
I love that. I love that. That's
You
very
look a
clever.
day over 70.
Thank you.
And they're already starting. The punches began. All right, let's talk about the latest, what's going on in Garland, Texas. As you both know, ISIS has claimed responsibility. However, that has not been verified. This all happened over that free speech event that happened where they had this contest for people to draw cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. So I want to start with you. Let's start with you, Dave. How much of an issue do you think terrorism is going to play in the 2016 presidential election?
Oh, it will definitely be an important issue. I mean, you can't deny world affairs here and the fact that ISIS is a real threat to our interests around the globe and to Americans everywhere. You know, they will take credit for anything, any lone wolf attack that occurs here. And it's inevitable that those lone wolf attacks will happen, even if they really don't have any true connection. Right now, there's no proof they have any real connection. But they want to engender fear in the hearts of Americans, and that's the purpose of terrorism.
Javier?
Yeah, I agree with David. I think, contrary to what President Obama says, ISIS really is a threat. You know, and again, this will be a major focus for a lot of these Republican candidates in the 2016 election cycle. Foreign policy begets everything else. This is a big deal, and whoever shows the biggest foreign policy bona fides will probably be the nominee.
Well, somebody who is kind of showing interest in foreign policy right now and definitely drawing attention to ISIS is former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. We have a clip of his ad. I want you guys to look at it, and I want to get your thoughts on that. If we can run that. He just recently announced, here you go.
There's a difference between right and wrong. There's a difference between good and evil. I'll keep all the options on the table in order to defeat the evil forces of radical Islam.
So Javier, want to get your reaction.
Well, it's
Strong
effective.
ad.
We're talking about it, so that's a very effective ad that he's getting a lot of attention for. And again, like I said, the presidential candidate, Republican presidential candidates are going to be working off this, and they're going to try to become those foreign policy presidential candidate. A little strong, yes. Using the actual imagery from the ISIS video, kind of iffy.
Do you think he crossed that line?
No, I think he came just that far. Just that close enough to crossing that line, but again, this is politics and everything's on the table.
What about you, Dave? Did he cross that line?
I don't think it matters. Mike Huckabee's not going to be president, and
okay. Why do you say that? You're already writing him off.
Yeah, when you're on the outside looking in, when you're not one of the top contenders, and you're trying to get attention, you do things like this. But I have no issue.
He did pretty well in the beginning back in 2008.
Well,
You're already
in the beginning,
but
you know, really, he's
Hillary.
not going to be president.
She's
well,
trying at it, trying for it again. So is Jeb Bush.
Yeah, you can't compare Hillary Clinton's chances to Mike Huckabee's chance. I mean, really, Democrats are pretty much clearing the field for Hillary. Mike Huckabee is trying to get his voice heard over the more established candidates who really have a chance of winning, like the Jeb Bushes, Marco Rubio, Scott Walkers of the world.
And the Ted Cruzes of the world.
Yeah, my law school classmate, Ted Cruz, who also will not be president.
Wow. Okay, so you hearing Dave talk about that, why do you think he's so quick to dismiss him?
Well, it's a typical liberal talking point, or Democrat talking point. They're quick to dismiss everyone else, but whoever they think is going to be the candidate, whoever they think is going to be the candidate. Look, I think there's a lot of good candidates in the Republican field. He's right in the sense that
is
there
Huckabee among them?
I would say he's in the top 8. He's not. Listen, we have a new. I said it before. There's a new batch of candidates. You have the Marco Rubios, the Ted Cruzes, the Rand Pauls, the guys from, as Marco would say yesterday, the Huckabees, Santorums. Unfortunately, they're more of a second tier. But look, anything can happen. You know, for all we know, some October surprise may come in July or August. One of the other candidates. You never know.
What do you think about Martin O'Malley?
I like the guy, good guitar player, smart guy.
Well, you got to vote for him then.
But that's what Democrats vote on.
Is that
good
it?
instrument player?
I like him, but he is he's
well,
trying
then
to.
You should vote for Huckabee then, right?
Well,
Sorry.
I don't think he will be president. I think at least not in this cycle. Hillary Clinton is the clear favorite, and I do think she is the inevitable Democratic candidate for president.
Do you think he's using the situation in Baltimore for political gain?
What, a politician?
Never.
Never. Of course she is. But I disagree with Dave. I don't believe that Hillary is the eventual candidate. I think there's someone else, like I mentioned before, someone like a Julian Castro who can come out.
I was waiting for you to say Elizabeth Warren. That's what everybody.
No. I think it's more someone like to cut from the same cloth as a Julian Castro, who's as radical as President Barack Obama. Again, why not?
How many names do you think are going to throw? Or how many people do you think are going to throw their names into the ring? Because it just seems to be growing and growing. This week we had Carson, we had Fiorina, we've had Huckabee.
A lot on the Republican side.
Right.
But on the Democratic side, because of Hillary, I think you'll see very few. You'll see the Bernie Sanders, who has about as much chance as Mike Huckabee does. And then Martin O'Malley, maybe, Jim Webb. But it's going to be Hillary on the Democratic side.
Well, we're going to talk more politics. Coming up, we're going to talk about some of the key issues. We talked about terrorism. We're also going to be talking about immigration. That's coming up. You're watching Newsmax Now. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Newsmax Now. We want to welcome in again our roundtable. Joining us is Dave Aronberg, State Attorney for Palm Beach County, and Javier Manjarres, Managing Editor of the Shark Tank. And we're just having a good old time today, aren't we? Talking about all these issues. Okay, so we talked about terrorism. Let's now switch topics. Let's talk about immigration, shall we? Another key issue for 2016. Right. Hillary now promoting a pathway to citizenship. On the other side, some Republicans are looking to repeal Obama's amnesty. How's this going to track with voters? Let's start with you, Dave.
Well, immigration is going to be a big issue for voters, but it's different. When you're in the Republican primary, you've got that more anti-immigration bent there, and then the key is to get over to the middle as fast as you can and adopt a more nuanced position. So it's a challenge for the Republicans. The Democrats, I think, in our primary are most closer to where the public's mood is generally, whereas the Republican primary is a lot more on the right. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of Republicans backing off the hard right stance on immigration and leaving it up to the courts, because right now President Obama's amnesty order, as that you call it, is being debated and decided by the courts.
What do you think, Javier?
Well, I think it's typical Democrat talking point, and I love my friend Dave, but he's true that the Democrats will strictly run on an open borders platform, where Republicans have that issue. They have to be very careful in how they come across in a primary. Obviously, the conservative Republican base is going to vote for someone who is pro-legal immigration as opposed to pro-anti-amnesty or pro-illegal amnesty.
Right.
But again, they will go towards the middle, like Dave says. But I think this election is a little different. I think they're gonna kind of maybe hold their own. Maybe someone like Ted Cruz will hold his own, and he may win the nomination just on that. He disagrees with me.
He disagrees. Okay. Why?
Ted Cruz is a smart guy. I remember in law school he was a smart guy. Today he is. Yes, very smart guy. But he is so on the fringe of politics.
You mean on the fringe? Are you saying the fringe, or are you saying he's too far to the right?
Well, he's a Tea Party candidate.
Right.
And Tea Party candidates will not be able to get elected president. They could win a Republican nomination, but even Ted Cruz, I think, is too much on the far right.
I would like to know what the definition of the fringe is, as opposed to the right fringe as opposed to the left fringe.
I think someone who says that we should shut down government, we should default on our credit, is someone on the fringe. I think that is a fringe candidate, yes.
So
okay, but talking about immigration, because we want to stay focused here. Immigration, okay. Do you think it will hurt some of these candidates that have so, kind of flip-flopped on these issues? Like, let's take Scott Walker, for instance.
I think anyone who's flip-flopped on immigration reform is going to hurt. They're going to be hurt in the Republican primary. It's hurt Marco Rubio. It's shown it could be the single issue that ends his presidential campaign down the road, because no one's cast any votes yet. And there's a lot of people in Florida has supported him, do not support him anymore, support someone more along the lines of Ted Cruz because of immigration reform alone. So we'll have to wait and see when the votes finally tally up, but I think it's going to be an issue for those who have flip-flopped.
Let's talk about another issue, stories that are making headlines right now outside of the political realm, although you may argue that. Let's talk about Marilyn Mosby, her recent, what some are saying, kind of a rush to judgment to charge those 6 Baltimore officers. That happened pretty quickly, and that surprised a lot of people. Did it surprise you, Dave?
Well, as state attorney for Palm Beach County, I'm not permitted to talk about pending cases, even if it's not in my area. So let's just say this in general. How
unusual was that?
Well, I'll say this in general, not specifically to Ms. Mosby, but when you are state attorney or district attorney, it's the same thing. You need to be careful not to make comments that prejudice a jury. You need to be careful not to give the appearance that your decisions are being made because of politics. That's something that you have to keep in mind when you give public comments.
Javier? He says he can't quite.
Well, he can't say. I can say.
Okay,
I think
so
there
go
was
ahead.
a rush to judgment. I think it was fairly quick that, I mean, mind you, she gathered whatever information she had, evidence if you would, but why being within a couple days, like you said, rush to judge and arrest these officers? I mean, I don't know. There were, and listen, it was split halfway. There were minority officers and white officers involved, so it wasn't like it was all white officers or all black officers. But again, I think it was a rush to judge on her part.
Dave, well, you can't speak about pending cases. Can you answer this? How typical is it for a DA to use that type of language?
Well, without reference to Miss Mosby, let's just say this. As I said earlier, when be careful when you are a state attorney or a district attorney what language you use. When I was a state senator, you can pretty much say anything at any time,
Right.
and only the political consequences were there. But when you're a state attorney, your consequences are more than political. You could get a case thrown out if you prejudice a jury. You could lose a case if you overcharge. If it looks like politics are behind your decision making, you could end up like Michael Nifong, the district attorney in North Carolina, in the infamous Duke lacrosse case. So you have to be very careful with your words.
Okay, one final topic before we go real quickly. Cinco de Mayo. President Obama hosting an invite-only Cinco de Mayo party at the White House today. Real quickly, your comment. 10 seconds.
Why did they even sing the Mexican national anthem at the whole Mayweather-Pacquiao fight? I'm still wondering that question.
Dave?
They should have had a May the 4th be with you party. That's the day we should all celebrate, which is
that
also
the
my
day we should all
birthday.
His
celebrate?
birthday.
Okay, not that you're
Again,
biased
doesn't look
at
a
all.
day over 70 years old. Congratulations.
And the compliments just keep on coming. Happy birthday to you. Thank you both,
Thank you.
Javier
Where's the
and
cake?
Dave Aronberg. Thank you both for joining us. Your Health Minute is coming up next. You're watching Newsmax now. Don't go away.